Yeah, there we go. The spiritual seeking will never end. If you're identified with the brain, the head, that is trying to get out of itself, the spiritual seeking will never end, and that's extremely profitable for a lot of people. They don't want it to end. But it's interesting doing this particular text or this message of not to, because really it's about the spiritual seeking. But the place is, this whole platform only survives based on spiritual seeking. So it's kind of interesting in a way. But I saw that in my own body, in my own experience, that the seeking will never stop. Jay always wants to try to get out of Jay. And if I'm living and identified as that, the seeking will never stop. It will just keep on going and going and going. I'll keep on buying books and trying the next thing and listening to the next speaker ad infinitum. And as a hobby or something, maybe it's okay, but as someone who comes from alcoholism and recovery, I just want relief, you know? That was the whole thing. I never cared about what I'm going to get in a way. Just wanted relief. As soon as the head goes back to getting something, I'm in trouble. So really the whole thing is about the spiritual seeking, mostly about the spiritual seeker. The one looking to get free, that's not what you are. You're not that thing that's looking to get free. That would place you in a seat of freedom now, being your nature, yeah. Rather than being constantly identifying with what's not free from its own little delusion, and then constantly chasing after that. Yeah. Okay, so we'll come back to the text here. Guru Vachaka Kovai. There we go. Yeah, that's going. Okay. And we'll do, I think this is in chapters. I forget how they break this down. Sort of. There's like 3 parts. That's right. Yeah, okay. This is in part 2. And it says the process of neti. Neti is means not this. So neti is the practice of not this, or the method, let's say. It's a negation method, which is used a lot. It's very similar to self-inquiry, not this. So whatever pops up in your, whatever you're aware of, essentially, you meet it with not this. Now, what also has to get met with not this is the one who's saying not this. Yeah? But it starts, it comes from the Vedas, like very old. It's a very old thing. So is self-inquiry, really, but not this is quite old, and it's a negation movement. So it's not an acquisition. To me, acquiring knowledge and acquiring practices has not been helpful, because what's acquiring those practices is what you're not, and it's using those to bind you to the brain and the body. So this is verse 671, and it's under this little heading called the process of neti, in brackets, not this. So 671 says, I am not this body of flesh, nor am I the prana, senses, mind, or intellect, nor am I the nescience dark devoid of action or object, but with vasanas filled. So if you ever read Who Am I by Ramana Maharshi, he goes through more of what you're not, essentially. Yeah? And in Sankhya Yoga, they have these things called the tattvas. The tattvas are kind of similar in a way. They kind of like highlight the body and the mind and the different aspects and of that body and mind, so that you can see them as what you're not. Yeah. So it starts, I'm not this body of flesh. So right away, the whole process starts. This thing, when your head says me or I, it's saying this thing. It's identifying with this structure here. And right away, this is saying, okay, whatever you are is not this body of flesh. So whatever is included in this body of flesh, that's not what you are. Yeah, so you can start to relax that body of flesh, essentially, meaning letting go of your grip on living as it. Nor am I the prana, so let's say the breath for a very general idea of prana. So you're not the breath, the senses, the mind, or the intellect. So the senses would be, of course, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, skin, and then there's the sense of thinking or thought. So, which would come to mind. He says that, yeah. The prana, senses, mind, or intellect. There you go. So this points out very clearly what you're not. So your true nature, whatever that is not these things. This is like the approach of neti neti. Now, in an absolute sense, nothing exists without your nature. So the body and the mind are part of the nature. But neti neti is like a method. It's like a method of practice, let's say, to not grasp at what you're not in order to sit back into what you are. Then from what you are, there's just a knowledge, not as a brain knowledge, but there's a knowing that nothing's separate from what you are. But you don't have to worry about that because that's already a done deal. Really, the neti neti approach, the approach of negation, is the important part. Yeah? So I'm not the body of flesh, nor am I the prana, senses, mind, or intellect. Intellect, from my understanding, is what understands what, how would I say? The sense of knowing your nature, essentially. It's like the bridge between awareness and the I thought, or something like that, for lack of a better term. Nor am I the nescience dark devoid of action or object, but with asanas filled. Nor am I the nescience dark devoid of action or object. So, this is quite beautiful in a way. At least the way that hits my head. Nor am I the nescience dark devoid of action or object. So there's the sky and then the clouds. The sky, if you sit into your skyness, let's say, there's a point when it's still there's still a sense that the sky is separate from the clouds. That is not Brahman, or that is not the big S self. I think in Chan Buddhism they would call that emptiness, essentially. There's a realization that nothing is separate. But there's still a sense of the one who knows that space of the sky. So, not to be the devoid of action or object, I think is pointing towards that sense. Where there is the sense of being the sky, but then there's still some left of the one who knows their skyness. Yeah. That's getting quite subtle, but yeah, it's cool that that gets pointed out. So I'm not the body, I'm not the breath, I'm not the senses, I'm not the mind or the intellect. So right away, you can negate those as what you are. You can let go of your grip on those as what you are. Now, will they keep operating? Yes, because you're not doing those. You're not doing the body, you're not doing the mind, you're not doing the senses, you're not doing the world. So if you soften off on your grip, the whole thing will keep going. It's not like the world revolves around Jay, although Jay definitely thinks the world revolves around him. So if I'm not all of that, then what's left there is this space, this spaciousness, yeah? Now this is saying, essentially keep going. Because the sense of space and the sense of objects within that space is still a duality. So There's still one who feels they know that space. Mm. That's a cool verse. So if you read um, the text "Who am I?" there's a longer little exposition from Ramana Maharshi about what you're not. So it'll go into like the organs and the pranas and stuff like that. Yeah, feel free if you want to, sure. But the whole basis is you're not the body and the mind. That is the approach of neti or negation. Now that's only the only thing that works, I feel, or has worked, let's say for me. This is why listening, I feel, works. Whatever you hear, you're not. That would leave you in the hearing. Yeah. But before the hearer, let's say. And then the rest can unveil itself to you. But the whole point is that if you're trying to get somewhere, the you who's trying to get somewhere, that ain't you who's trying to get somewhere. So the more you try to get somewhere identified as that getting somewhere, the more you get identified and tied in with the brain and the body. And then you won't be able to get out of yourself. Because self, small s self, cannot get out of itself. J cannot get out of J ever. There's no idea or question or mental knowledge which is going to get J out of J. It's only going to be mental. Yeah, and you are not the body and the mind. This is the whole point. So if something is being presented mentally, there's something trying to get out of itself. It's called J, but I'm not J, you see? This is the whole point of the whole thing. Now, unless you hear a message like this, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't even see that. You would just keep trying to get out of yourself, keep following the mental system, and keep going and going and going. That's what we were saying about an app like this. The apps like this survive based completely on the head trying to get out of itself. People are identified with that, and so apps like this are very, they pump, really. They're full. Because the head's trying to get out of itself, and then the world goes, well, here's 900,000 ways to get out of yourself, except none of them really work, do they? At least in my experience, when it comes to I really wanted relief, you know? The getting out of myself as myself didn't work. Getting out of J as J did not work. Why the 12 steps are so beautifully potent, because they say great things like self-reliance will fail you. Why will it fail you? Because it's a self-centered system, and you're not that system. Yeah? So the more you follow it, the more it's going to dig you into a claustrophobic self-centeredness, rather than investigating if you are that system in the first place. Because if you're not that system, you wouldn't care about any of this, really. So the neti thing, the negation of what is looking to get free, is a beautiful thing, because you'd see what you are is already free. There's, aside from the mental idea of being in bondage, wow. Aside from that idea, there's no bondage. Yeah. So that's the process of negation. You see what you're taking yourself to be, and you just flip it a little bit, and you go, oh, I can hear that. Well, what can hear all of this? More importantly, what's heard is not what's hearing. Yeah? Cool. Let's go to this verse here, 673. Is that on my little piece of paper? I don't know. Okay. Destroying through discrimination the basic error that I am the body in object, and rejecting it and the world as mere images false. The awareness that surviving shines alone as being, that I am. So through discrimination or discernment, the basic error that I am the body. So through discerning, by what they're saying here, I'm not the flesh, not the prana, not the senses, not the mind or the intellect. Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to discern that I'm not those things that I'm taking myself to be. Destroying through discrimination the basic error that I am the body. So you see you're not the body, and then you can ask, who is the body? Who is the body? Yeah? Comes right down to that I thought, me. And you can also, after discerning and softening the grip on the body and the senses and the breath and things, then you can really, well, who's the one doing the discernment? The answer is always me. That answer is always mental. If that answer is not always mental, where does that leave you? Yeah, before that answer, let's say. So destroying through discrimination the basic error that I am the body, an object, and rejecting it, or you could say negating it. So when the brain comes up and suggests that you are this, you negate that movement. And then it says, you also negate the world as mere images false, mirages false. The reason the world is like a mirage is because the mental system presents J as a permanent independent thing, separate from world. Although that itself is a mirage. So J, the idea of J is a mirage, yeah? It appears as a permanent independent thing, but it's not that. So if that's not that, then the wall is also a mirage in many ways. So this is the whole thing. The world only gets meaning as separate from, based on the meaning given to the J and the body. If there is no thing as an individual J or body here, then that would put into question the whole world as being individual, separate things. So that's why it would be considered a mirage. It's like the bike I'm looking at looks like a bike according to the senses, the mental identification of bike. The whole thing would say bike as far as this is concerned. But when this is put into question, bike is put into question as well. Bike is just a bunch of different parts, yeah? Identified as bike. So, So destroying through discrimination the basic error that I am the body and object, and rejecting it and the world as mere mirages false. Meaning that as far as this world and this body and this brain are concerned, that's a bike. Yeah? This is not about denying that that's happening. The only question here is, am I the J who's identifying bike? That's the only question. Yeah? But the idea, or let's say the event that J sees bike and says bike, and that there's the sense of a J there who's doing all of that, that's happening. You can deny that if you want, but the more you deny it, the more life you're giving it. So you might as well just accept that that's happening and stay with the investigation of what you're not, which is all of that happening. Yeah. So trying to stop the event from happening, the event of J from happening, will only tie me more. It will give the life more, let's say. So, and then the world as mere mirage is false. The awareness that surviving shines alone as being, that I am. So the simple way Ramana would say that is what remains. When you stop grasping through neti at all of the contents of your experience, what remains? And then the head will claim the emptiness, let's say. I am emptiness, yeah? And then that gets negated. The only thing that happens here, I feel, is negation. It never lands anywhere. You never land on a place where you go, I got it. Because as soon as the head claims, I got it, it's off. It's claimed it, yeah? What's claimed it is not you. That's the point. So you only land in what you already are through the negation of what you're not, but you're taking yourself to be what you're not. Yeah. So the negation kind of clears that up in a way, but it's only negation. You never land or stop. Uh, you never land anywhere on like an idea. Yes, I got it. It's just a constant negation in many ways. It's just that just keeps going. Yeah. Uh, and then I'll finish this little section here, 647. Whatever objects move and however they move, stand you apart and be a witness of such movements. So whatever is moving, which would be the body and the mental system, don't grab at that as what you are, essentially. Negate that as what you are. Don't try to destroy it and don't try to stop it or hold it down. Simply don't grasp onto it. And then see what remains, essentially, would be the only thing. See what remains, yeah? So, this is like the beautiful thing, that the open space of what's hearing all of the movement of life is not moving. You don't have to hold that still because it's just not moving. That's already a done deal in a way. It's a negation of what is moving and stopping trying to hold it still. Because if you try to hold still what is always moving, then you're not going to get anywhere because you'll always be moving. It's like trying to hold music still. You can't do it, yeah? So you see that you're not the music that is moving, and when you stop grabbing at what you're not, which is always moving, you can only land in one place, which would be open stillness. Stillness is the only thing that can know movement, which puts you back into like the most basic duality of still open space and the contents moving through that space. And then rest there, and something might be revealed to you. Yeah, that's beautiful. Good. So whatever objects move and however they move, you don't grasp at those. You stay as the witness by negating that what's moving is what you are. And then you really come to see the movement. You really come to understand what the movement is. Yeah. And by not grasping onto it, you are no longer bound to the movement. So whether the brain says you're doing great or you're doing terrible, you don't grab either of them because you don't really care at that point. You're just kind of hanging out. And then the life can move a lot smoother in a way. The music plays a lot more harmonically when I'm not always in the middle of it trying to control the whole thing. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Few verses today. I'm going to leave a little bit of time here for a question if there is one. Be very careful on what questions we deal with.